Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our Friday call. Oh my goodness, these weeks. Please write in the chat if you would like to. What was a shift in your awareness this week? What did you become aware of this week? And as you do that, please also, I would love to throw some love in the chat for Annalisa. Annalisa is our new client, and she is absolutely incredible. And I cannot wait for her to get to know all of you and for you to get to know her. Renee and Elizabeth and Greg, you would have met, and Tara, you would have met Annalisa at Verity at Tara's event. She was there. And if you're wondering, oh, wait, who was Annalisa? Earrings. It was the earrings that were a necklace. So that will jog your memory, hopefully. We're so thrilled that you're here, Annalisa. The best earrings. It's always earrings, Anushri says. Always earrings, Anushri. I love that. Elizabeth says, welcome to Annalisa, and that she's truly understanding what would I love and standing still. That's beautiful. Rubina was reminded that you get what you expect and receive what you are looking for. Yes. Shalini says, I can serve everyone without giving my time to everyone. That's huge. My new program will serve everyone at different price points, and that's okay. Yes. Anushri says, my shift has been to realize how much self-image is at the center of everything. Beautiful. Keep writing those down if you would like to. We're going to get into the study. And then we've got a question that came in that I'll also answer today. You know, I love what Vernon Howard says when he says, sometimes a simple statement of truth is enough to crack open a new world of awareness. Sometimes just a simple statement of truth is enough to crack open a new world of awareness. And that's what we saw with Anna, not Annalisa, but Anna, who had this shift on the morning call yesterday or the day before. She had this shift in one moment, acted, and then was able to secure that 30,000 deal. It's like Pooja with the retreat. She had a shift in awareness. When we were talking about decision, it reminded her about how it works. She had that shift, and then which opened up a whole new world of awareness, event action. She acted on it. And after making the decisions, we know what happened after that. So no sincere effort towards self-understanding is ever lost. And what we want to become aware of, and this is what we've talked about before, is this idea of letting go what is not at the level of what we desire. What is interesting is as you do this work, the things that you will let go of that are not at the level of what you desire, you may not have even been aware that those things were holding you back because they were just such a part of who you are, what you do. It was unconscious. And we see this in the work that we talk about with Gay Hendricks research which created the book, The Big Leap, in the upper limit. It's that those things that when we're not aware that are negative, the way that it can operate is in self-sabotage. Ironically, self-sabotage as we start to get close to what we desire. The way that Brianna West talks about it is that we'll have this self-talk. We'll sabotage our self-talk. And remember, that's one of the places that our subconscious shows up. But we sabotage our self-talk because if we believed in ourselves, we would feel free to take those risks, to go for it. And that would leave us vulnerable. And sometimes we can't quite sabotage it in the area that it's happening in. So, for example, let's say all of a sudden the things that you've been visualizing, praying for, desiring are starting to happen in your business. It's happening. People want to work with you. And a part of you is like, wow, it's kind of what you wished for, but in the moment, it can feel like a lot. And can you handle it? Are you able to have what you really desire? So a lot of different things can be at play. And what one might do is create conflict in their relationship, which we would think has nothing to do with the business. Why would we create conflict there if we're afraid of all the good that's coming in the business? Well, we would create conflict there because then it creates a distraction, but it can also create a, quote, reasonable reason to not focus or to sabotage the business. Because, of course you would do the business. Of course you would. Yes, you would, but you're just not supported at home. So how can you? But that was created, and this would all be unconscious. That would be created by you to keep you where you are, and also to keep yourself as the victim and blame something or something external for the reason of why you can't have what you truly want to have. And we want to have, sometimes for some of us, when we are self-sabotaging, we want it to be something that feels like it's from somebody else, so that our story is really good. And this was me. So I'll give you an example. When things would happen that would be what I desire, I would have images just come that felt like they just came into my mind of something catastrophic happening, which would not allow me to do the thing. But I would have a good reason because, I can't, like, obviously it's out of my control that, this catastrophic thing happened. And this way I wouldn't have to show up to that experience that I really, really wanted, but I wouldn't have to put myself there because of something beyond my control. It wasn't until I became aware of that kind of thinking that I realized how much that thinking I had. And I'll tell you something, it was a lot. It was a lot, so much. I had to do the forgiveness work, and it would just be in my head repeating it. I forgive myself for judging myself, that something horrible has to happen. For my new truth is I get to have it all, and it gets better and better. For my new truth is it is safe to have what I desire. For my new truth is I can have this much good and more. And I would just be like muttering that in the airport. I remember specifically in the airport, just over and over again. The beautiful thing was that I was aware of it, because though the negative thoughts and those types of thoughts are far more powerful than our positive ones, they've got a gravitational pull. And in the past, I would have gone down that rabbit hole and actually really emotionalized the catastrophe. I would have had tears in my eyes. I would have felt it in my body, and I would have been there. And then I'm creating from that, and it would have been like almost numbing out to it. It would have been like, when you're scrolling and you're like, oh my gosh, and you kind of wake up from it. You're like, how long have I been scrolling? I went to post something, and what is it? Oh my gosh, it's an hour later. Well, that's what it would be like for me. And so we want to really understand. So I remember I was asked the other day, and like, Hannah, how does self-study help you? And it's this way. It helps me understand my own paradigms, my own inclinations to sabotage, to make things hard. You know, what happens with self-sabotage is that it's really a coping mechanism. And what Brianna says is that it's a way we give ourselves what we need without having to actually address what the need is. But like any coping mechanism, it's just a way to cope. It's not the answer. We're just numbing our desires. And what we're receiving is a little bit of relief, but it's temporary. The beautiful thing is, as you become aware of this, if we are self-sabotaging, it's a sign that we are ascending. So we can start to understand it for what it is and then not give energy to it. And the reason, so this all comes down to self-image, the reason that we will put something negative in front of achieving our goal is because of our self-image of not being the kind of person that has or does that. And the anxiety around the issue that we're self-sabotaging, the anxiety around putting ourselves out there, getting that big contract, asking for the thing, starting that endeavor, asking that person out, going on social media more, if we think about what Shannon brought into the last call. The anxiety around the issue that we're self-sabotaging is a reflection of our limiting belief and a reflection of not understanding who we are. Well, Shalini says the anxiety of failure. Shalini, I would also say the anxiety of success. Can I handle this success? Am I worthy of this much success? So can I have it going amazing in my business and at home? Because what that will require is for you to redefine what that is. I had to do that. I was going by somebody else's definition of what it meant to be a present mother. And it's gonna, no, I won't go there. Okay. So I was going by when I was going by somebody else's definition of what it means to be a successful person, a successful parent, a successful partner, to have a successful life and success in my business. And when I was going by these standards, I don't know, I mean, just picked up from society. It was a struggle and it was hard because it wasn't mine. So I realized, and I had to get honest with myself of what would I love? What does a successful life look like for me? For me. And I want you to hear this as you fill in the blank of what it is for you, because it won't be the same. It might be similar, but all I want is for this to give you permission for you to look at it for yourself. For me, it was not picking up the kids, dropping off the kids when they were little, like at school, like things like that piece of it. And when I really came to realize that for me, my well-being is my top priority, and then everybody benefits from that, that was a radical shift for me in judgments that I would have on what it is to be a good person. And this is what you heard on the bonus call from the our it was the common thread in our inner circle was, and it would be a common thread, I think, for many of my clients, this idea of boundaries and really thinking about what you want and not people pleasing, letting that go, and also letting go of the need to be liked. I also let go of the idea of balance, that it's this balance of work and home. Paul and I, when we did our podcast, when he was on my podcast, the podcast is going to launch next month, by the way. Yay, new episodes. And I think we'll kick off with the one with Paul and I. When we were talking and we were saying how, when we go out on date nights, like Paul helps me tremendously in the business in many different ways. And when we go out, we will talk not about the kids anymore. It's really the dogs are our business. And I was reflecting on that, and I asked him, I was like, do you mind that's what we talk about? Because again, a past version of me would be like, well, a successful couple, they won't talk about that. And we're just like, it's what we love. And Paul was saying it's just where the energy goes, and it's what we love. And we do love it. And it is one of the things that we connect on. And I just love the way that his mind works. Like, oh my gosh, it's the sexiest thing to me. So it's the perfect date night to be talking about that. In the past, I would have had a judgment. In the past, I would have had a judgment about things with the kids. But then I realized that no, like, so I've created it in the way that I want to create it. And then that helped me in not in being aware of where I would self-sabotage. Okay. Was everyone still with me? And I want to just say one more thing is that, and I'm going to go into the chat then, you have no idea when you are just acting and being, and your doing comes from your being, you have no idea how you're affecting people. And I realized this yesterday with D. This happened towards the end of the call. D and I had no idea that it's so interesting, right? Because you have your experience of something. Somebody else, and in that experience, there's another person involved. But you don't know what their experience is of that situation. And that's what happened with D on the call yesterday. Did some of you hear what happened at the end of the call? Okay, so I'll just go over it quickly here. A few years ago, Glenna, it was 2020. I did an event with my friend Catherine, and we did an event. And in that event, we were having some speakers that were going to come and share at the event. One of those speakers that I reached out to was Dee. And Dee was a woman that I just knew through entrepreneurial circles who did social media and specifically LinkedIn more than anything. So I asked her to be on the panel as a speaker to take one of the sessions. And I asked her what her rate was. And she gave me her rate. And I also had the rate from the other speaker. So to put it into, just to give you the full picture, one speaker was a man, a white man, and Dee is a Black woman. I receive her what she would like to get paid, and it is a quarter of what the man is requesting, and we're going to pay the man what he has asked to be paid. And I went back to Dee and I said, so we'd love to go ahead with you, and we would like to pay you this. And it was the same rate as the man was being paid. And then we went on. I didn't really think about it afterwards. She was like, okay, right? And I didn't think about it again. We do it. So now it's years later. We're in 2023. I haven't really spoken to Dee. Dee and I have not kept connected really in any way other than social media. And I see her name yesterday and I'm like, because we're talking about self-image. And then I'm going back. I have that image come back to me at that time. And I think, oh, wow, Dee, what that must have been like for her to receive that offer, because that probably sent her self-image spinning a little bit. Because remember, she was asking for a quarter less. So that's where she saw herself. I'm coming back, or 3/4 less. Anyways, I'm coming back with more. I suspect that part of her probably wanted to sabotage it as it got closer. She would have been going through probably some inner turmoil. And here is the other thing. She also thought, when I was calling her, like I have in the past, thought that I was asking her to refer somebody else in her circle, which has happened to me. So what Dee said on the call yesterday that was interesting was that she said, I've talked about that, about what happened. Her and I have never talked about it. But yes, Greg, she still tells her family and her friends that story. Also, what was happening at that time in 2020, if you remember the atmosphere in that time, and there was a lot of talk about inclusivity and things like that. That's also what was happening. And so for me, I'm not saying that that's a decision anybody needs to make. I'm not saying it's a decision necessarily that I would do. Like it was just at that moment, that is really from my being felt right. And it felt so right that I didn't need to talk about it. So now it's years later. And I sent Dee a note afterwards, and all I said was, I adore you. And she said, hi, Hina. I got so choked up this morning in a good way. Your Stephen and Chris story. They couldn't be contacting me. And she said, 3 weeks ago, I had my photos updated. The makeup artist walked everywhere with us. I sent her a gift card. The actions that you had towards me, this is 3 years ago, has me looking for ways to be abundant to others. Not what's in my bank today, but what my future me would do today. So you just don't know. We just don't know. And this all comes from self-image, but a self-image that is based on you, your terms, what feels right for you. Raman says, I've become aware that the inertia I'm feeling is fear of success. Yes, Raman, that I'll actually be making that leap with a massive change from the status quo, moving from wanting to having. It's strangely scary. Raman, one of the reasons for some people it's scary because they worry they won't be able to hold on to it. When you're in wanting, and if you've been in wanting often, like, always been in a state of wanting, the comfort is that you don't have to think about holding on to something that you don't have. You're always in the perpetual cycle of wanting, wanting, wanting. So the only way for you to move from wanting to having and to know that you will be able to hold on to it, is to do it. And you're going to know that you can hold on to it, Raman, because you're going to have the consciousness to have it. And even if something happens, you'll be able to get it back. And I know what your vision is, and you've got to do this. I know, right? Shalini is like, she should so complicated. The fear of not being able to hold, the fear of success, right? Yeah. There's so many different layers to it, which is why if you want more of anything, if you desire to have a rich life in all areas of your life, you want to know yourself, because so you can get out of the self-imposed prison in different ways. So when you are self-sabotaging, you can recognize it and be aware of it and go, okay, I know what this is. I've been here before. I know I always get sick right before a major event or something that's important. Liz Bofi and I were talking about it. She had a knock you out of the park, incredible experience at a trade show. Gosh, talk about self-image. Is Liz on the call? Liz Bovey, I think I saw you on the call here. Can I share a little bit, Liz, about how you set up your team? Okay, so this is a trade show with other schools that are going to be there, and people can get to know the different schools in the area in Toronto, and they have a booth. But here's the thing. Because Liz Bovey has been doing her own work on self-image, she set up her team from this place, and she led her team. She asked them to think about the energy that they're bringing, to think about how they want to show up, to think about even in the way that they were going to design their booth was going to stand out. They were going to bring the energy of when you walk into Liz's school, it's like, I want to go to school there. They were going to bring that energy to that booth. And they were going to, as a team, they had a collective self-image as well of the highest, that what they provide is incredible. Nobody does it the way that they do. And Liz also talked to them about, how are you going to show up physically? Like, what are you going to wear that's going to be a representation of this energy, of this self-image? Well, as a result of setting her team up like this, they were the belle of the ball, so to speak. They were literally, and if there was a camera to catch it, people were magnetically drawn to them, and they were drawn to people as well. Their booth had the most energy and action around it, and it was a huge success with the way that Liz was setting it up from a place of leaving everybody with the impression of increase, how she led her team in that moment. And that is self-image. Let me just go back to the chat. Sylvia said she was reminded that the ego is trying to protect me, but I don't need protection. That's right. So when challenges come up, I will stop and check in. Am I reacting from the place of my ego or responding from the place of my goals? I love that. Elizabeth says, also as an addition to what would I love, now realizing what would appear to come easy to me, understanding people, yes, connecting and being of service to them with my business is my zone of genius. Yes, be there, play there. Okay, let me go to Anushri's question now that came in. And of course, everything that I'm saying here is for us to apply it to ourselves. Like, okay, yes, like what does success look like for me? What does success in my family look like to me, for me? So part of it for me was that I remember years ago, I had this vision. I thought, oh my gosh, you know what I would love? I would love at times that I can, like the family comes with me to certain things. And, you know, what I love is that all of you, I get to, like, I'm experiencing my goals with all of you as well. So when Yusuf is at the Khan Method coaching graduation, helping to organize the tables, put things up, that's part of my goal. Like, that's part of my vision. When he was at the picnic potluck that we had, where many of you were with your families, and he was helping out, you know, that was part of it. And when I heard that Steve Hardison was going to be speaking at the retreat, I was like, okay, boys, you're coming to the retreat because I want them to hear him. Whatever they take out of it, they take out of it. And so now they'll be helping and working at the retreat as well. For me, that is part of it. For somebody else, it's different for them, for what success looks like for them, what they desire within their family. Okay. Anushri says, I had a question related to something I mentioned in the chat yesterday, and I want your advice to deepen my understanding. I have recently come to the awareness that despite my success in terms of money, constantly working on multiple projects that I love, winning awards, actively pursuing my goals, and doing event action really effectively, I hold myself back when it comes to putting myself out there with the television shows I have created. I have created 3 TV shows, and I consistently hesitate to show them to producers and have them greenlit. I have 1 show in development right now, and I feel so much fear around it. How exciting. I added the how exciting. I wasn't in there. After really thinking about it, there's a part of me that is scared that since all of the shows I've created are about South Asian people and people with disabilities, I worry about non-South Asian people and able-bodied people giving me notes on it And though the development process through the development process, the show gets destroyed. I have watched it happen on other people's shows. The second part is a childhood shame piece about how much I struggled to get here. My success is connected to a volume of failures related to dyslexia. I was unable to read for a significant part of my childhood where things felt like they fell apart no matter the effort. Yes, it's the monogrammed luggage that you spoke about. All of this is vulnerable, making to sharing with so many people, but I want to change my self-image around this. And I want to get my 3 amazing shows on the air. Okay, we're going to do it. Let's do it. Are we ready to get Anushri's show on the air? I love it. First of all, incredible awareness, Anushri. Thank you so much for asking this question. How many of you have your own things that you're not putting forward? You know, it could even be something in your relationship that you're not putting forward. So of course, this is so beautiful. The reason I said how exciting that there is so much fear right now for you around these shows and putting it out there is that for me, that fear, Anushri, is not an indicator that there is something wrong. It's an indicator that this is meaningful. This matters. And of course, the fear is going to come up. The fear is coming up to protect you from something that you do not need protection from. It is going back to an older version of you, the child version of you, and still operating, but you do not need the protection. But it makes sense the fear is coming up because this is something that's important to you. So that's how so it's kind of like, oh, I understand this. Of course the fear would come up. This really matters to me. I'm going to be, doing this. I'm ascending to a whole nother level. Yes, the fear is going to be like grabbing as you're like going higher. It's like grabbing at your feet, like, no, come back. And it's going to show you all the evidence, Anushri, all of it. It's going to bring other people into it. Because remember so-and-so when they were in the development process, remember how you've watched this happen to other people's shows? It's going to show that to you. It is doing its job. So there's nothing wrong with that, but we're not going to allow it to pull us down. And what you want to build for yourself, Anushri, for your self-image, what you want to build is your faith and belief that you will be able to speak your truth if and should notes come back to you with people not understanding and wanting you to change things. You can also look at this like, what a beautiful opportunity for you to educate people. People are only coming from their level of awareness. Of course, they're going to send you notes back. Some might not. We don't know. But many might, some might send you notes back that are a reflection of where they are. You have an opportunity then to explain to them why you chose what you chose and why it's important to you. And then you have the opportunity to say, we are not the right fit. You are the essential. Do you understand this, Anushri? You are the essential. When what is happening is we're making them the essential. So I love this question. There is nothing wrong here. You can also find evidence of many people that were told to change things and chose not to. For example, oh, the author that wrote the book, The Alchemist, Paul, I don't know how to pronounce the last name. He was told to change the title. They didn't like the title, the publisher or whoever. They didn't like the title. But he didn't want to change it. He was like, no, this is it. And that is what the book is. Yes. Yeah. I know I should reread that book too. Yeah, you've done it before. It's just that, Anushri, you've done it before. It's fear. Of course, it's fear. You haven't experienced it. And that's why, Anushri, you've got to do this. I mean, you have free will, but you've got to do this because now we can't unring this bell. We know what it is. The fear is an indicator that you're onto something. This is not the fear. This is good. And you know what? Even we're going to be talking about this next month too, is being able to distinguish between intuition and fear, because it can feel confusing. Right. Anushri says, my soul wants to do it. It's just like, God, what the hell is this fear? It's not me, but obviously it is. And the way to diminish the fear is to take action. We starve fear by taking action. So, Anushri, send it in. Now, Anushri, when you send it in, and also, so here's another thing I would do in this from the self-image perspective, is you have the self-image to, if any questions came back to you, you would respond from the place of your self-image and be able to educate people, share why you're doing why you created it in that way, because they just might not be aware. Remember, you create your outcomes. You're living in the created world, not the reported world. And then the other thing, as far as self-image, is neutralize it. Like, you are an Oscar award-winning person. So, like, director, producer, screenwriter, like, you're award-winning, and this is one of many things that you submit. So that would be another thing to do, is neutralize it and then understand, and then your belief in yourself. Oh, okay, you're sending it today. Everybody, she's sending it today. Oh my gosh. This is what I friggin' love about this, is that as we get to know you, your goals, it's ours. It's ours. Like, we're right there with you. You've got the universe that created worlds at your back, and you've got this group at your back here. Like, we are right there with you. Oh my gosh, I love it. So she is sending it today to her agent at 5 p.m. Beautiful. It's done. Neutral. 5 p.m. Done. And then close the laptop. Enjoy your evening with your beautiful husband. You'll love this, Anushri. Human beings experience a natural resistance to the unknown because it is essentially the ultimate loss of control. And that's true even if what's unknown is benevolent or even beneficial to us. Ah, James. James is an amazing artist. I may see you later, Renee, at Verity at the gym. So the other thing is, and when we study ourselves and we understand this, is that we know that this is natural. This is why I was so excited about the fear. And I mean, that comes up. Self-sabotage is very often the simple product of unfamiliarity. That's it. And it's safe to have what you desire, Anushri. It truly is. Your work is, you wouldn't, again, this is your soul's calling, as you said, and it's no longer for you. One way to think about it is whether, yeah, like I know that you've used the term God, so it's like these TV shows are for God. God will take care of it and get it on the right network. You do your part. Okay. And your part is to put it out there. Okay, so this came in getting personal here. My first goal desire was that my husband would address his drinking and work on our relationship. After months of the opposite showing up, I made the decision to separate and started that path. He has now started addressing his drinking and started therapy with me to work on reconciliation. I am in conflict. Is this my original goal showing up, or is it the opposite showing up in my new decision? My old self ego is screaming, this won't work and it feels heavy. I need to find a neutral, but find myself constantly overthinking worst case. What tool do I use to work through this to find ease and joy and let go of the fear? Okay, this is wonderful, a wonderful question. So gosh, and this happens, right? Like you, once you made the decision, so people change through, our paradigms are changed through repetition or an emotional impact or the fastest or accepting a new belief right away. So he had an emotional impact when you filed for separation and gave him the papers. Like he realized how serious you are, and then it kind of like snapped him. Now, listen, you can't get it wrong. So right now you want to sit and think, what would, like, you want to go, I would say 6 months out. So do you want to what would you love? Like strip it all away. What would you love if he was to, so what would you love? But okay, hold on. I just want to organize my thoughts here. I got to create order in my mind. You're gonna, what would be helpful is to come from the place of looking at this of what would you love from where you are and where you are going. What I mean is not, so this is something you would have wanted years ago or a while ago, but you don't want to respond from the person that you were a while ago. You are a different person now with the work that you have done on yourself. So from that perspective, what would you love? Would you love to say, okay, I'm going to give this X amount of months and pursue exactly what I want, going for it, coming to the retreat, doing the things that I desire to do, so that, and we'll see how this goes, but I'm going to touch lightly? Or is it, I'm going to move ahead with my plan that I had? That's what I would love right now. So what happens when we're getting a response that was a response that we wanted in the past, sometimes we revert back from a self-image and a state and a frequency perspective of where we were in the past. It takes us back into the past from that place, and now we're responding from that place, if that makes any sense. We can go into it deeper next week. Okay, I got a yes. So that makes sense. Okay, good. Love it. Everybody have the most incredible, beautiful weekend. Best day of your life. Annalisa, welcome. So thrilled to be with you on this journey with you. And again, I'm just excited for everybody to get to know you deeper and for you to get to know everybody as well. We will see you here on Monday. And Monday, we have a special retreat call as well for all of you that are going. We're going to go through it all. And for those of you that want to learn more about it, because ticket sales will close next week. All right, everyone. Love you all. Bye for now.